Awesome. Okay. So today we're going to underwrite 3-bed, 2-bath homes in Dothan, Alabama, zip code 36301, to see if they cash flow. We're gonna check on 2 to 3 listings here that are on the MLS, and then we're going to look at an off-market campaign. We do have the leg lamp in full effect here, and there's a significant reason why that's there, but in ties to Dothan, I should say. But I'm Jay Helms. I'm founder of the W2 Capitalists and BRRRRs for Busy Parents. Over the last several years, I've helped hundreds of married busy parents grow their portfolios 1 to 4 units a year, whether it's flips or BRRRRs or just long-term, just turnkey rentals. And today I'm going to show you the same system that we use, my wife and I use, and that we implement for the members of our community, so that you can do them too. And it is one of those systems where it doesn't require you to do any cold calling, and it doesn't require you to hire a VA team. This is we've designed this around being busy parents, and so I'm confident that it's worked for hundreds of people. It's going to work for you too. So let's just kind of dive into it. And one of the things I want to start doing with this, by the way, my cousin lives in Dothan, and well over a decade ago they gave me the leg lamp. I love it. Anyway, so one of the things I want to start doing with this, let me get the right screen up, is going over a market brief. Still got the cough. So let's scoot over there and talk about what Dothan has to offer. So we're going to talk about, this is a population of 71,000, which I didn't realize. I with my cousin living there, also back when I had a W-2 5 years ago, even 6 years ago for that particular company, I made several trips, had several clients in Dothan. Didn't realize the population of Dothan was 71,000. The growth since 2010, this is probably the more important factor. One of the things that I look at when exploring or underwriting or looking at any new market with new members is population growth. From the last census, which was back in 2010, significant here. Any positive growth is a good indicator. 8 to 9% since 2010 is massive. People who've lived in Dothan for a while probably experienced this. And they've got the big circle here. I know they like to talk about the big circle. Anyway, as you can see there on the map, that's where that phrase comes from. The nearest, bigger or major metropolitan area is Tallahassee, Florida, which is 85 miles away. Also want to note that this is about an hour and a half from Panama City Beach. Pretty nice beaches over there. Not as good as ours, but anyway, positioning, it is the hub of the Wiregrass region. There's a lot of diverse employers there. This is all things that we want to look at if we're exploring a market that's new to us, but diverse employment in healthcare and logistics. Fort Rucker is on the outskirts. There's a lot of just different service companies. There is a steady renter demand is what I'm trying to get to. And it is the peanut capital of the world. They don't take peanuts lightly. There in Dothan, there's a whole peanut festival, and every essentially every business in Dothan has a peanut statue outside of it in their uniform. So I think that's pretty cool. So that's the market brief, and that's why I want to look at Dothan. It's got a lot of things going for it: population growth, good renter demand, and let me see what window I'm on. And so what I'm going to do, we're going to look at 2 different properties here that are listed on the MLS. We're going to throw them into Deal Check real quick and see if they cash flow at all, or what we would have to do to get them to cash flow. So we're going to start with 903 Circle View Drive. We're going to look at the photos real quick just to see if there's any updates or anything that we would have to do to it if we were buying this property to get it rent ready. Just by looking at the outside, it looks pretty slick. Looks pretty clean. Sometimes, I guess they didn't want to take the curtains with them. I don't know. Sometimes these floors tend to have some issues, but and sometimes they're hidden really, really well in photos. So definitely want to check that out. Looks pretty nice. Interesting. Let me see what you guys are seeing here. Okay. I'm not really sure what's going on with the kitchen cabinets. Let's I've never seen that before. Don't know what that is. Looks kind of cool. I don't know. From a rental standpoint, it'd be fine. I'm not a big fan of the yellow wall color, so a little bit of paint wouldn't hurt. It does have appliances that looks pretty old. There is a refrigerator, looks pretty old too. Let's keep going. The good thing about these old refrigerators is they do not quit as easy as the new ones do. So maybe a good sign. Again, with the yellow wall paint. Brown's not too bad. Again, with the curtains. It's actually not too bad. It's a big room. Is that supposed to be a bedroom? I bet it is. There's a closet. There's a closet. Hallway looks pretty decent. Again, with the yellow, just want to... Wow, they spent some money in the bathroom, though. That looks amazing. Okay. Another bedroom. Something on the wall over there. Ceiling fans look like they were put in the 80s. Nothing wrong with that. For a rental, if it's in, it's working. Nothing wrong with that. This bathroom has not been touched. Assuming it's going to be the guest. Or original to the build, which we'll get to the listing information here in just a minute. Hot water heater. I'm assuming that clause right there may be washer and dryer. Hookups. Just going out the back door, maybe a side door. Nice little patio area. Fenced in yard. It's a big yard though, so if it was a rental, are the tenants going to be able to keep it up? Nice little shed in the back to hold all the lawn equipment and just good storage. All right, so let's go back and look at the full listing here. 3.2, 1,900 square feet. It's big for a 3.2, so those bedrooms were big, which is good. Real quick. All right, let's go back to the listing. Built in 1974. Want to make sure, I didn't see a picture of it, but want to make sure that it's on a breaker box and not an old circuit box. That's one of the things that I would want to make sure is there. It is a beautiful brick home in Circle View. Let's see, all brick construction. Newer roof, 2024. To me, that's a new one. That's awesome. New interior HVAC. I like that they noted that it was interior. I want to check and make sure the date on the outside one as well. 3 very spacious bedrooms. See if there's anything in here about the electrical. I don't see anything here. So let's do this. By the way, if you're watching live, which I see some of you are, let me know in the comments if there's any questions that you have that I can address for you. All right, so it looks pretty slick. Let's see if we can get it to cash flow. This is usually where interest rates are today. Usually, what we run into with these properties. So, Deal Check. If you haven't seen me use Deal Check before, is a calculator I've used for years. That we are affiliated with them. So if you click on the link in the comment, you're going to see a free trial, right? Or excuse me, not trial. It's free to use. And then if you want to unlock certain features that I'm about to show you, you have to pay for it. But anyway, it's absolutely free. Most people just use the free version. Import data. So this is how easy it is. I'm just going to paste the address. It's going to grab that. I'm going to do a quick search. I'm not going to save it as my profile. And it's going to import all the information from the MLS listing plus some items from county records. So let's go back here. I didn't look at this. Only 24 days on Zillow. Okay, not too bad. 815 views, 61 saves. That's seems like a pretty good amount of volume there. One thing about Deal Check, it does have its own estimator, so it also has not only the price of the home or the value of the home, but also for the rental calculator as well. So we're going to get into, and they call it RentCast, which you see RentCast's estimate. So we're going to go with the Realtor.com estimate as we're loading this in here, because that is a little bit closer to their asking price. Now, I would say by just seeing both of these, it's already overpriced, but we're going to work through here is we're trying to get into $200 a month of cash flow is one of our criteria. I'm going to go over the criteria here in just a minute. Tax amount, we're going to import that in, but we need to make sure that's accurate. That was back in 2019. I don't know how often, this is in Houston County. I don't know how often Houston County reassesses their properties. Some counties do it after the property changes hands. Sometimes counties will reassess the value of properties every 5 years. It just kind of depends. So that would be one number. It just looks a little low, but it could be that the taxes are so cheap there. That's what has allowed for that 9% population growth. This is just a number we would want to double check. I always want to double check property insurance with Steadily, by the way, is who we use. So school information, if that's important to you. And then it brings in the pictures from the MLS listing as well as the description here. This says it is pending. Zillow just says it's for sale. So maybe Deal Check is updated faster than Zillow. So okay, and then realtor information. If you wanted to contact them, you could. So we're going to save and customize. We're going to leave the purchase price with the list price. After repair value, you saw that adjust. We're going to scroll down to our worksheet here. We're going to do financing off the purchase price. We're assuming we're going to come up with 25% down. If you have a lending lender in Dothan that allows you to do 20% down on a investment property, take it. It's as long as the other rates apply. Most of the lenders we see and talk to and work with, 25% down on any investment property is kind of the norm. Interest rate, we're going to take that down just a little bit. We're going to go 7.5. We're assuming we're doing a DSCR with a 30-year fixed. Could you get this? Could you get a loan in your personal name to drop the rate to 6.5? Possibly so, if you've got the credit and the W-2 to income debt service coverage ratio and the DTI that your lender is looking for. It's very possible. We just always default to DSCR loans because they're just so much easier to do. Although we pay a little bit higher rate, right? So purchase cost, 3% of the purchase price. Rehab, it didn't look like a whole lot needed to be done here. Now, if you wanted to come in and maybe do a fresh coat of paint throughout, all matching color, you're probably going to, I'm going to say somewhere in around of $3,000 for that. I didn't see anything else. I'm going to add another $2,000 just to be on the conservative side here to the rehab amount. And then we got a 10% cost overrun. Rental income, I don't know the Dothan market, so I'm going to assume this is correct. The other thing that we can check is rentometer, and most of you probably have heard this before. And this is a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath. It's a house. Let's check the rents there. So average $1,784, $2,230. So now we have two sources. We've got rentometer and we have Deal Check, who says the rent estimate is around $1,700. So I'm going to leave that there. I'm pretty confident with that. Vacancy rate, if you want to be super conservative, you can leave it at 10. I'm going to drop it down to 7 just for fun. Operating expenses, I leave at 40% because we're planning to self-manage this. And again, there's not, even though it's an older home, I'll tell you what, let's bump this up. It is an older home. Cosmetically, there doesn't look like there needs to be a whole lot done to it. However, you saw those appliances were pretty old. I would question if the dishwasher works. you know, there's some things that probably couldn't. So let's just bump it up to 45%. Appreciation, income increase, expense increase. This is for long-term projections. We don't know the land value right off the hand, so we're not going to put anything in here for this depreciation deduction. It's not that important for this analysis anyway. So we've got all the information in here for us to accurately underwrite. It took, what, 5 minutes to do? And we already know by this red X that we're not hitting our criteria, which I'm going to go down to the offer calculator. And this is where it gets fun. So in order, well, let's go back up here to property analysis. So based on the information that we have, this quick analysis and what we understand about the property and the market, we have a total, is that right? Let me go back here. Sometimes my finger slips on these numbers. Yep. Okay. So we're going to go back to the property analysis tab. Cash needed. This is be cash out of pocket, right? $65,000. And this is one of the things where off-market deals. This is going to highlight why off-market deals are so important for you to seek after. So not only cash needed, $65,700. Your monthly cash flow is negative. Cash on cash return is also negative. So I look at primarily cash flow. You know, to start, if it doesn't hit our minimum of $200 a month, then I just kind of skip past it or see what I can do to make it better. Sometimes there's not a whole lot you can do with these properties that are on the MLS. But if we can improve the cash flow, and we're talking about a $500 a month swing here, at least, then we're going to get a positive cash on cash return. And I just look at this because I know as I'm entertaining other investment avenues, whether it be another vehicle or a syndication or something like that, they're all going to have their projected cash on cash return. And this is just a way for me to compare apples and apples, right? So let's just kind of scroll through here and see what we see. And then I want to see here. Sorry, clicked on the wrong window. So our NOI is 816 before we get a loan payment, and that's where the biggest thing is, right? And then it gets into all the formulas, and why they're all red is because they're negative. So there's a couple things that we can do here to try to make this cash flow, right? We can come in, and this is one thing I love about Deal Check is instantly we know our highest and best offer that is going to allow us to be able to hit that. Now, this is half price of the asking price, and it's probably not going to happen, right? But sometimes you just got to shoot your shot. The other thing is, and here's what we have is our no, why that's not in there. Let's see if that adjusted anything. No. Okay. Cash on cash return of at least 8%. And then I have the DSCR, or the debt coverage ratio, at 1.25, because then I know I can get financing for it. That's all the reason that's there. And I don't know why 200 the cash flow wasn't chosen, but it is now. So if we save this as our new price, and not only is the realtor probably going to laugh at us, I'm okay with that. I've been laughed at before. And then I found the one realtor who didn't laugh at the offer I wanted to make, and we ended up closing 13 properties with him. So sometimes you just got to shoot your shot. So now you saw, if we saved it as a 105 as the purchase price, our target purchase price, by the way, that turned green. Now let's go back and play with, let's change our purchase price back to the 215. I think it's still a little high based on what I've seen. And we don't have to put down as much. let's say we did a seller financing deal, and they said, okay, just put 10% down, right? And instead of 7.5% interest, we're now going to pay, let's say, 4. We're going to leave it as a 30-year amortization. Chances are the seller financing wants to be paid off or paid back within the 30 years, so that's fine. But as far as amortization, this is what this means inside deal check. So let's go back here to, now that we've made those adjustments, we're still not that good, right? We're still negative on cash flow. Our cash on cash improved, but it's just still not good. Cash needed, that's was essentially cut in half, and that makes sense because we cut our down payment in half. So let's look at offer calculator. It's improving. It's just not there. Now let's go back to rentometer that said 75 percentile is 2200. Okay. Well, what if we change our rental income, and we're not just plugging these numbers in. I'm plugging these numbers in now for the sake of this exercise, but we're not going to plug just numbers in here to make things work in the calculator, right? We want to verify, if you're new to this, touch base with property managers in the area. Hey, I'm looking at 3.2 on Circle View, or I'm looking for, call and act as if you're a potential resident and say, hey, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath minimum house on Circle View, or in the Circle View area. What can I expect to pay for rent? They're going to give you some real life examples, right? And if they say 2,200, and you then verify that with other sources, other property managers, or just other listings, it's safe to say you can put in your gross potential income here is 2,200. So now we've got, again, we position this as a seller financing, 10% down, 4% interest rate over 30 years. And then we bumped up the gross rental income to $2,200. So let's see how we're doing. Property analysis. Why did that go down? Something's not right. I must have fat fingered something. Hang on, let's go back. Purchase worksheet 215. Down payment. I did something. 10%. That's what, I don't know why that moved. Interest rate went up. Shouldn't have. Sometimes when my fingers get into these cells and I move them on the touchpad, it messes things up. All right, so now let me just make sure. 10% down, 4% interest rate, seller financing, right? Property analysis. Now we're in the blue, which also means in the green. Still not hitting our $200 a month in cash flow, but at least we're positive. And then our cash on cash return had a huge swing to that. So let's just, again, go to offer calculator. And in order to hit our 3 criteria of $200 a month in cash flow, cash on cash return is at least 8%. And we have a debt coverage ratio of 1.25. Our highest and best offer, this will be our target price, is $195, right? So if we save that here, our check mark turns green. We can go back to our property analysis and see that we are doing pretty good. So if I were an investor in Dothan, and I like this property, I would try to figure out some kind of way to sell our financing at 10% with 4% interest at a purchase price of $195. That's what makes the deal work, at least for this property. So that's one. Let's look at another one, and then we're going to get into some off-market analysis, I guess you could say. So this one looks like it's a newer construction, built in 2017, like it. Usually new construction means you're going to have less maintenance, and your capital expenses are going to be further delayed, right? So 2017, let's look at some pictures. Looks nice. Notice there's no fridge, so that'd be something you'd have to buy or negotiate in. Typically that negotiate in means a credit at closing. You still got to buy it with your own cash, right? So we're going to put down some money for that. Nice little dining area, nice entry hallway. Very nice. I don't know if that's a pantry or just a closet. Very nicely done. It's a big closet. All one color, all uniform. You're definitely brand new or newer construction. You're definitely going to get higher rents for this. Is this on a lake? We're going to look here and oh, this is nice. Okay. Some ducks back of the. Also, just throwing this out here, if this is a rental, you have direct access to a lake. There's no fence. Liability insurance is going to be an issue. Something you need to consider. I'm not an insurance underwriter. It's something you need to consider. But pretty house. You know, do you put a fence in? Who knows? Let's take a look at the listing. 3.2, 1,800 square feet. Only been on the market for 14 days. And here's why I keep going back and looking at how long it's been on the market. If your average day on market is, 60 days, let's say, property's been sitting out there for greater than that. That's when you can get super conservative with your offers and maybe not offer 105, but try to get creative. Hey, it's not moving at 215. Would you consider 195 if we did owner financing, 10% down, 4% interest, I pay you off in 5 years, that sort of thing. So that's why I look at this just to see. Waterfront home in Pine Lake. Not a whole lot of description here, but that's okay. Brand new construction. That's good. So, all right, so let's underwrite this thing and deal check. This is just a straight rental, right? We're not gonna, for the sake of this exercise, we're not doing any kind of remodel or anything like that because we just don't know what all might be needed. We're not gonna look at properties like that may need some rehab, significant rehab. This is light rehab things that we can do over these live streams here. So just wanted to make sure this brings in the right data. What does that mean? Updated in 20, what was updated? Deal check estimate was 249, realtor is 282. This is listed at 283. So we're gonna choose realtor.com. The rent cast estimate is 1630. I thought it would be more because of the new construction. So let's just look at Retometer and see what it says. Sorry, that was too quick. Please resubmit. Okay. Resubmit this. So very similar. Again, it's lower. Okay. May have something to do with the school system, neighborhood. Who knows? I don't know Dothan that at all. But it is a little bit higher on the average than rentcast. Pull it in. Again, you want to double check multiple sources. You can plan on probably 1630 or 1650 being the minimum. Tax amount, again, low. A lot more than the previous one. I think it was at what, 155? 1450 per year on insurance. This I didn't catch in the listing. I didn't, as you saw, didn't take a whole lot of time to look through it. It makes sense that this neighborhood does have an HOA because it's just a newer, it looks like it's a planned development. Need to factor that into the cost. Also, make sure what kind of rentals can you do. Some people buy properties and want to turn them into a midterm or short term. Does the HOA allow for those types of things to happen? Last sale was at 255 and 22. It's interesting. Okay. So at 282, they're looking basically to break even on selling it after realtor fees and whatnot. So, okay. All right, we're going to save and customize. We're going to, again, financing off the purchase price. We're going to say 25% down, interest rate at 7.5. Again, DSCR loan. We're going to come back and mess with that in a minute. I know this is not going to cash flow like we wanted to. Rehab cost, fairly new build. Even if it's an occupied property and even if it's not occupied property, I still put $1,000 a door because there's going to be something to come up that the tenant, if there was a tenant in it, who's going to say, hey, this hasn't been fixed and I've been complaining about it for months or years or whatever the case is. So I always put a minimum of $1,000. We saw in the listing, we know that we're going to have to buy a refrigerator. So we'll just put $1,500. Let's put $2,500 for a refrigerator and then $1,000 for miscellaneous, right? For total rental income. I'm going to bump this up just a little bit. We'll just do 1,700. I think you're probably going to get potentially a little higher. Let's do 1,750. Again, I can't stress this enough. You want to do these with or verify this from multiple sources. What the rental income is. Vacancy rate. I'm going to drop that down to 7. There's no other income. Operating expenses. I'm going to leave it at 40. Newer property, probably less things are going to break from a maintenance standpoint. One of the things too that I haven't gotten into, we can itemize these out. The 40% that I use is basically for management and maintenance. It's a two big ticket items. But here's what could be in that maintenance that I haven't really talked about is who's taking care of the grass. Utilities are also part of that example. None of our properties that we have do we pay utilities and then get our residents to reimburse us. It's all in the tenant's name. So if it's common for whatever's common for your area, you kind of need to know, hey, are utilities included? All the numbers that we're talking about are what's the word are assuming that utilities are not included with the rent income, right? It's just rent. And then also they are responsible for lawn care. If they're not responsible for lawn care and you're using deal check, you just want to make sure it's in here and you itemize that out when you get into that. So, okay. So we got all our numbers in here. Let's make sure I didn't fudge anything with my scroller here. Okay. So property analysis is going to be negative. It's going to be negative. Cash needed, 81,000. Who doesn't have that in their couch cushions, right? For a negative 557 a month and negative cash on cash return. So let's look at the offer calculator. It's going to be funny. Yep, 123, which is probably not going to happen. At all. So if we go back to our purchase worksheet, let's see if we can get this to hit some of our numbers, right? Or all of our numbers. And cash flow was not chosen again. I need to figure out why that's not in there. 200 per month by default. I mean, why it's not saving that as the default. That dropped our highest target offer by quite a bit. All right, let's go to property analysis. Yeah. We're going to say we're doing a 5% down payment. Let's just assume we could look this up on PropStream and see what if the owner owns it outright or if they have a mortgage on it. And the reason being there is if they don't have a mortgage on it, I'm not saying they would be open to owner financing, but the conversation could be had, right? So I'm going to say 3% interest. Let's just stick with a 10% down payment. I don't think we're going to be able to make this work as a rental at that rent with that purchase price and that interest rate, right? All right, so we've got 10% down, 3% interest. This is assuming that the owner owns it outright and they're able to do some owner financing and entertaining that with you because you're so awesome. it still doesn't hit the mark, right? So offer calculator, we're still 100 grand off. So one of the two things that's got to happen is either rent has got to go way up or purchase price has got to come way down for this to be able to be a good rental. So chances are it's just not a good rental. It just doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't work. So this is where we see this a lot in a lot of different markets. So what do you do when this kind of happens? Well, this is where off-market campaigns have been really good to us. It's been really good to our members of our community. And let's just see, I want to go through now and show you how we would build a list if you're in the Dothan market and you've never done an off-market campaign. This is how we would do it for you. And I'm going to zoom out to the county level. This is my zoom out function here. For Dothan, I believe it's Houston County, if I looked it up and remembered it correctly. Yep, Dothan, there's the big circle. So this is PropStream. If you're not familiar with it, it's just think big data analytics. We can pull all this information. We can build our list off of here of what we like to target is tired landlords. So I'm going to go into filters here and show you exactly how I would pull a list for you if we were doing this for you. And here's a good sign that shows that Dothan, or at least Houston County, is really good for the BRRRR strategy, is because there are a lot of tired landlords. Like that, a third of the properties, let me take this filter off. So there's 61,000 properties in Houston County, according to PropStream. Nearly a third of those are from tired landlords. Now, for clarity, PropStream labels tired landlords as somebody who has owned the property for at least 15 years. Okay. So that's where we're going to start. And then we're going to jump into property details. We're going to look at residential, single family, multifamily 2 to 4. And what you're going to see is this number of properties is going to keep reducing and getting lower and lower, smaller and smaller. By the way, let me do this. We're not going to do Houston County. We're going to do just 36301. For Dothan, because I know Houston County is big and some of the areas are extremely rural. So nothing wrong with that. We're just going to stick with this. Also, I don't know if Troy is in Houston County. I think it is, but it's right there. Student housing is a whole nother thing. We're thinking about single family rentals that are not student housing is what I'm trying to get at. So rental properties, right? As a landlord, if you want to deal with pools, choose pool, right? Or include it. If you want to deal with an HOA, choose to include it. I hate dealing with HOAs, even our own. So exclude those. And then we're going to skip down to the MLS. We're going to choose off-market properties. One of the cringiest feelings is getting a call from a realtor who has a property listed and is referencing your off-market letter. Now, things can happen in transition where you create this campaign, you send your mailers out, and in that time, the property goes listed. But at least we want to start here. We don't want to target anything that's on market. Off-market campaign. And then we're going to skip down to owner information, and we want to target individuals. So think of mom and pops who've owned these properties for 15 years. The reason for mom and pops is they a lot easier to get a hold of. If anything is an LLC or an entity name or a trust, it's harder to get the specific contact information. And when you're building your off-market campaign, you want to send these to a very specific person who is the owner, right? So based off of all those criteria, the other thing we're going to choose here is a max value of 300, and then we can leave the minimum blank. Let's just take a look at a couple of these. So 140,000 estimated value, 3 bedroom, 1 bath, 1,200 square feet. Thing to note here is estimated loan balance. A lot of tired landlords haven't paid off. So this is where the conversation of owner financing becomes a reality. It's something that actually could happen. So we've got some tricks around that too. If you're interested in learning more, let me know. But this is a list of 300 and something properties, all that fit through those criteria that we selected. If we were to build a campaign, we're going to take these, we're going to export them or save them to a list. I'm not going to do that right now, but we would save them to a list, and then we would clean the data up just a little bit. One of the two things that we do is make sure that sometimes the data is just wrong. Even though it pulls from its multiple sources, we typically look at cleaning the data up for two reasons. Number one, we don't want to send anybody who the property address has a unit number on it. Typically that means just data is misaligned. Now the mailing address can have a unit number on it, but if the property address has a unit number on it, typically that means they're in some sort of apartment complex or maybe mobile home park, and it's just not something that we particularly want to go after. The other thing is that we clean up out of this is so that's for property address. For mailing address, we typically eliminate anything that has a P.O. box. We just get more return to senders, wasted dollars on advertising with P.O. boxes. So we've decided to eliminate those. But that's what we would do. We would take this, we would export it out, we'd clean the list up, and start your off-market campaign, which we've got what we see, and this kind of fits right in the queue with everything that we see with our members, is most of our members, they send somewhere between 300 and 500 mailers a quarter. Those 300 to 500 mailers per quarter produce 1 to 4 units a year, and that could be a flip, a BRRRR, or just a straight up rental, like some of these properties that we were looking at earlier. So let me look at a couple things real quick. Don't know what window I'm in, so hang on a minute. All right, there we go. So question is, where do we go from here, right? What do we do? Let me look at my notes while I'm talking about this. But if you're married, you've got 0 to 3, like you're aspiring to start this, or you've got some experience and you've got 1 to 3 rentals or flips, and you are wanting to grow by not aggressive means, but by 1 to 4 units a year, send me a DM. We are actively looking to bring a member into the W2 Capitalist community, the BRRRRs for Busy Parents program, in Houston County or in Dothan. And so if you're in Dothan and you see this, let this be your calling card. We only work with one investor per market. And so once somebody comes in and they lock down that market, it is locked down until they're no longer a member, which on average is years into the future. So, yeah. So if you're not in Dothan and you want me to do this in your property or in your market, not property, let me know. Send me a DM, comment on this wherever you're watching it, and we'll take a look at it. But